Hello, everyone. This is Coach Michele coming to you live from Atlanta. I hope you had a super fantastic week. Today's question is, how do I pick my location, my service area? So many of you are wondering, do I just need to service the area where I live? Can I service the entire state? What does that look like? So the answer to the question is, there's many answers. However, the Coach Michele answer is, you want to be known as the local expert. When I used to own a few franchises, that was the philosophy that they had. And I think it's fabulous. And I've been using it ever since I've been an entrepreneur. And I started way back in 2003. So what does that mean, being known as the local expert? What that means is, instead of you trying to service the entire state or multiple counties, start within a smaller area. I'm not saying you can't get licensed to service 10 counties, 15 counties, or whatever it may look like. Now, side note, some states that are regulated have specific guidelines. So you have to check off the counties, or you're in a specific region. Some states, the licensing is broken down into regions, territories. So if that applies to you, make sure you adhere to that. However, even with that being said, if you have a large territory, you still want to, or I suggest that you start out and become known as the local expert. And there's things that you need to think about. And the number one thing to think about is your caregivers, your potential caregivers. If you are stationed, and when I say stationed, meaning housed, if you're working from home, if you have an office, wherever your physical location is, what I recommend is like going a 45-mile radius or 45-minute radius, whatever makes sense. And you could do that in a circular motion, right? So go around you, or you can do it, going north, west, east, south, however you want to do it. The main purpose of me saying that is your caregivers. So, and potential caregivers. If you are in, say, on A Street, and when you get to M Street, that's 45 minutes or 45 miles. Most caregivers will not drive beyond that to go on a job interview as a CNA, as a home health aide, as a companion sitter, right? As a caregiver. So what that means is, and you may be thinking, okay, Coach, not a big deal, whatever. I'll have people here on A Street that will literally drive to the client. Well, that's a possibility. A lot of caregivers do not want to drive 45 miles or may not want to drive 45 minutes. So now you've advertised and you have a client that lives 45 minutes away or an hour away, and now you're stuck trying to get a caregiver. The best way that you can do that is if you are doing what? You're going over to M Street and you are hosting interviews there, because then you will get caregivers and potential caregivers in that area that can service those clients. Right? And what does that mean, and what does that look like? So now you're on your office is on A Street, but now you have a client on M Street, which is 45 minutes or 45 miles away, and now you are we need to check that, Rob. Is he looking at that? Oh. Side note, guys, I'm at my office, and my office is on a busy thoroughfare, and I just seen the police walk by our cars, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, don't give us no ticket. That's a legitimate park. We are in front of our office. So you got to make sure you pay attention, guys. So as I digress, let me get back on track here. I told my husband, Coach Rob, you need to check that. But you guys know I keep it real all the time. There's no taking, retakes, or anything. What you see is what you get, right? So if you have a caregiver and a client over on M Street, great. But guess what? You're on A Street. Now, if that caregiver calls out, you need another caregiver. You may not have a caregiver that's on A Street that's willing to drive 45 minutes or 45 miles or whatever that distance looks like. So you got to have multiple caregivers over there. But guess what? Now you're in your office and you say, oh, I took care of that one client. I have two caregivers. Everything is fine. But guess what? Now you have another client over there. You got to go through the same motion again. But the next thing you have to think about is that while you're in your office, now you're driving, say, an hour away or 45 minutes away. Now you're in the potential client's home and 45 minutes or an hour, depending on how long you're in the home. And now you got to drive back. So literally, that could be 3 hours out of your day. So you got to think about the logistics behind hiring a caregiver that's 45 minutes away, 45 miles away, and also bringing on those clients. Because now, guess what? Number 3, you have to have a nurse, right? Most states require that you have a nurse. I recommend a nurse even if you're not in a regulated state, right? Because you want to make sure that you are providing the best level of care. You want to make sure you understand if that person is medically frail, whole bunch of things, right? If they have a specific condition, you want the caregiver to know how to manage and look and identify symptoms of a disease, a condition that person may have. Yes, even though you're non-skilled, right? So this is non-skilled because you still want to put the client first. And simultaneously, you want to set your caregiver up for success. You never want your caregiver to be in a home and something happens, or say stroke, right? And the person starts to sweat, and the caregiver is like, oh, let me turn on the AC. No, that's a symptom because the client has history of stroke. And you may not know that because you did not have a nurse go out, do your comprehensive assessment, right? So everything I say has a purpose, a meaning to, really try to instill in you guys to be safe at all times, right? So those are the top 3 reasons why you should be known as that local expert. The 4th reason is your marketing dollars. So if you have, I share this with my VIP clients. If you have, $300 a month to market your business, which is a decent amount, it's not a lot, but you can be successful with $300. I didn't have that when I started my business, right? So you can, so say you have a plate. This is the analogy I use. Say you have a plate of food. You have some steak, you have some collard greens, you have some baked macaroni and cheese, you have some yams, and you're just ready to eat. And then you need a little bit of salt. So you get the salt, and you say you just have one of them little packs from fast food. And so if you take that pack and you say, everything needs salt, my mom doesn't cook with salt, I just need to sprinkle it on everything. If you take that little bit of salt and you put it all on the meat and you just drop it on the meat, then there's nothing on anything else in the plate, right? But if you take it and you spread it around, right? If you spread it around, then now it's a little bit everywhere. So now what do you prefer? Do you prefer being able to taste the salt? Do you prefer having a little bit of salt on everything and you can't taste it at all? What do you do? What do you do? It's just like marketing dollars. Say if you have $100 and you're ready to market your business, that $100 can go further if it's just put on A Street, like the meat. If it's just put on A Street and you're not spending anything else over there. Right? So now if you take that $100 and you spread it across A Street through M Street, you're not going to reach a lot of people. You're not going to taste the salt. So you just have to make a decision. Do you want to taste it or not? Do you want to get a return on your money for your marketing or not? Do you want it to be saturated and you get more coming in? Or do you want it to be sprinkled in? You got to make your decision on what you want to do. So I'm just giving you some tips. So those are the top 3 plus number 4, which is equally as important. So that's what you do, guys. You want to make sure that you are strategic when you are creating your service area. So let's use Georgia for an example. Georgia, when you first get your apply for your license, you're filling out your application, you can apply for up to 10 counties. That's a whole lot. We're licensed for 23 counties. That's a whole lot. So what that means is that you probably have to have different offices. You probably got to have people working in different locations. You may have satellite offices. You may have virtual offices. You may do a lot, right? You got to figure it out. just because you select, and I do recommend this now, I do recommend that you max out based on your license, but that doesn't mean you have to service all of the counties simultaneously. So say you start out with just a street, meaning county, right? We're using streets for an example. Say you start out with a street, and then you service clients here, and then a client on A Street refers you to a client on D Street. Then you make that decision if you want to service that client. If you're unable to service the client, maybe you've built a strategic relationship with another home care agency owner that you guys can, send back and forth and refer and help each other out and things like that. I have quite a few clients that do that, especially my clients in Arizona. They are like the bomb network queens, and they help each other out. Right? So even if you don't have, say, if you're not one of my VIP clients, guess what? You can still build relationships with other agencies that have a like mind. A lot of agency owners don't want to build a relationship with another agency because they're like, oh, you're going to steal my client. You can't steal something that God hasn't blessed you with. Can I get an amen? So this is Coach Michele coming to you live from Atlanta. Have a super fantastic day. You can follow me on Facebook at I am Coach Michele with 1 L. You can find out more about the services that I offer at michelleleeellis.com, michelleleeellis.com. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video and on my Facebook Live. Take care. God bless.